Okay, so let's go ahead and start by looking at the styles sheet that I created for this project. I just went ahead and kept in the same repository as the week 7 HTML, just not to make things too complicated. So up here, I have the first style, which is linked to an element. I did a background with linear gradients. That way it gets a cool, gradient color. And I went ahead and applied the font that I wanted to use, as well as like a standard font size, which I do change it in various ones, but at least this is the standard one. This is the fallback. And then next I have just a general class of center for text line center. So that way I can add it to anything and it'll align the text. I have the footer class, which is used in each footer. It makes the font larger, italicized, and it creates this little background color and border. So that way it sticks out against the gradient background. And I have justify content in order to space it evenly so they're not all scrunched up together. I then went ahead and did a table ID just because I only have the one table. And here I added some padding as well as I did have it justify the content to center. Um, you have the first header here. It goes ahead and again gives it some padding and some margin, gives a little bit of a text shadow and centers the text. And the second header class is essentially the same, except it's just different colors, and the margin and padding isn't as large. And the third header and fourth header are virtually identical to the second header. It's again just different colors. And for the third header and fourth header, I use these like where the second header I generally exclusively used on the H2 heading. The third and fourth header were alternated with H3. Since there was multiple H3, I just wanted to like note that today, or at least was able to separate it. That way visually it looks different. And let's see. This was the class for the initial image. And I'll go to that in a second to show why this is different from the other images, because I was trying to center it and I had issues with doing that, and I'll show you that, but I at least wanted to put in my code so that way someone, maybe you, could correct me on what I didn't do correctly, because I was having issues trying to figure that out. And here we've got and I'll show this on the code, but this is for a class about me, where it creates padding margin, gives it a different background, different border to separate out the about me section. And you'll see there's another section that's why should you listen, and then where should we start. And this again is going to be similar to the about me. These are all pretty similar, except it changes up the colors. Let me see. This is for the anchors that are in these sections up in the animated, live action, and musicals. There's these image anchors that are there. And this helps it just, again, space it out. This is for the go back button or the anchor that's up in these different ones. And posters helps, again, create a margin, a little bit of space between the picture anchors that are up in here in these files, as well as it gets a little bit of a white shadow, kind of remind me of like a movie poster. And this was specifically for the unordered list, so that way it wouldn't have bullet points, because once I centered the text, there was like bullet points all the way over to the left, and I didn't want that. So let's go ahead and now take a look at the actual site. I'll go ahead and start at home. Yeah, see, we have here title. I wasn't able to get this centered. I wasn't able to do that for any of the images. I'm not exactly sure why. I kept trying things out, and the only way I could get it centered was by like adding a bunch of padding, but then it wasn't dynamic, because once I started, doing this, like this would disappear all the way over, because it was the padding forced to go over there. But so at least here, how it's done, it stays where it's supposed to. For the most part, I would again prefer it to be centered, but such is life. Then so we'll go over to the about page. And again, we have the images like is set up that way. This is what I was talking about, where these different sections have different colors and different like borders and the different headers. And we're going to go ahead and head into here. These, and here's the go back button I was talking about. And here are the image anchors. And it's going to be the same on each one. And last but not least, we're musicals. And yay, look at that. All right, so we'll go over to contact. And again, everything's centered, contact. I went ahead and this is where I did reuse the header, like the first, I think it was second header and the third header I used here. It has a little text area button. So yep, that is about everything that I changed up. And yeah, that'll do.